Probate is already overwhelming, emotional, and confusing enough. But trying to sell a property on your own, that's the sort of mistake that can cost you your inheritance, or worse, get you in hot water with legal issues. I recently worked with a client who listed their father's home on their own. And I'll be honest, it could have been a financial disaster. Thankfully, they were referred to me by an attorney, and let me tell you, we dodged many bullets together. Have you ever thought, how hard is it to sell my house on my own? Or maybe you know someone who's tried. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how it went. Here's what most people don't understand about probate real estate. Probate's the legal procedure when someone passes away and their assets, like a home, need to be transferred to their heirs or sold. In Nevada, this means working with the probate court to validate the will, if there is one, and appoint an administrator or an executor of the state who has the ability to sign the listing paperwork and the sale paperwork. Now, when I meet with a traditional client, it's really easy. Their name's on title, they have clear title, and I can list the home immediately. Very similar when I meet with someone when title's held in a trust. I can have the trustee sign the paperwork. I just need a copy of the certificate of trust, and we can get things listed right away. If the trustee has passed away, the title company is going to need an original death certificate. Again, if title's held in a trust, we can move forward pretty quickly. That's not the case in probate at all. I need something that shows me who has the legal ability to sign the listing paperwork. The court has to appoint an administrator, and I can't list the home until that's happened. I meet with clients all the time, and they're just starting the process. No one's been appointed, and I really can't have anyone sign the paperwork at that point. I'll give you the perfect example. About a year ago, a probate attorney referred me clients. They were actually in escrow in contract on an offer where they had sold the home themselves to a buyer. Unfortunately, they had accepted an offer significantly below what the true value of the home was. I met with them and I showed them values, I showed them the comparables, and that they could sell the home for much more. Now at that time, they had entered into a contract with a buyer, but no one had been appointed as administrator of the state. So the attorney, when they got involved, said no, that contract was void as they didn't have the ability to sign on behalf of the state. Luckily, the attorney was able to get them out of that contract. They listed the home with me for much higher and sold for much higher, and we're very happy. Here in Las Vegas, the probate court must approve the sale once you get into an accepted offer. When that's required, we want to make sure the contract is written as contingent upon probate court approval. That way, that contingency protects the seller if something happens at the courthouse. Now, during this time, the property's in escrow. You can accept an offer. You're just going to have that contingency, but take into consideration some of the time frames. For instance, we are seeing where attorneys are able to get a court date at about 3 weeks after you get an accepted offer, but you're probably going to still need a slightly extended escrow. Instead of a traditional 30-day escrow, you're probably going to want about a 45 to 60-day escrow just to give plenty of time for that court date and then some of the contingencies after. What many sellers don't realize is that in certain type of probates, that court hearing is like an auction. Buyers can come in and bid on the property. That means other buyers, usually investors, show up to these court hearings so that they can bid on the home. It's known as overbidding. The original buyer's offer becomes the minimum price, so additional buyers would have to come in higher and still meet the court requirements. But if they do so, they can definitely walk away with the property. Of course, the original buyer is welcome to come to the court hearing and bid as well. Because of these complexities, buyers often are hesitant to enter into contract on a probate property. They often don't understand the process or exactly how it's going to work, and they don't want to waste their time getting into contract on a property and then finding out they're overbid at the courthouse. This is exactly what happened to a property I just listed for sale. In this case, his sister passed away, and it took a long time for him to be appointed as the administrator of the state. During this time, one of the neighbors reached out to him. Now, this is a high-rise condo I have listed for sale in Soho Lofts. So one of the neighbors on that floor reached out and said they were interested in purchasing the property. He wanted to do so and entered into contract, but they didn't make the offer contingent upon court approval. Well, sure enough, as soon as it came out that court approval was required, the buyer backed out. they weren't sure what exactly to expect, and they didn't want to deal with having to obtain court approval. At that point, the brother thought he was helping the estate. His sister does have one child, and he's really trying to do the best for the estate. He thought he was saving money by saving on the commission as a for sale by owner, but really ended up just costing the estate time and money. And this was really scary because he didn't actually make the offer contingent upon court approval, so he could have really been stuck in a bad situation. The buyer did cancel, and he even thought that possibly people could bid lower than him, and he just really didn't want to deal with the situation. Luckily, they listed with me. We've got the home on the market at a higher price and already have an interested buyer. Here are 3 common for sale by owner probate mistakes sellers make. When it comes to probate sales, I do see families try to sell the home themselves as a FSBO. That's what we call a for sale by owner. They think they could save money and actually do a valid thing for the estate. But probate real estate is complex with a lot of legal issues. And trying to go it as a FSBO can be costly, cost you time and money. Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm Leslie Carver, your expert guide in all things real estate, especially if you're eyeing Henderson. I'm here to share tips, insights, and all the latest market updates to help you navigate the real estate market in Las Vegas and Henderson. Please remember to hit like, smash the subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss any new videos. Let's jump back into it. Here are the 3 most common FSBO pitfalls I see. Number 1, title isn't clear and title insurance can't be issued. One of the critical steps in probate sale is to make sure that you have clear title and that you truly have the ability to sell the home. In a regular sale, it's pretty straightforward. Your name's on title, you have clear title, we can get things moving forward. But in a probate sale, there are complexities. You've got to make sure that you've been appointed as administrator and that the contract is contingent upon additional court approval. I've seen several times where families have tried to go on their own and they get to closing only to find out that the title company is not willing to issue title insurance or close escrow. And they have to spend months at that point trying to get court approval and do things correctly. Of course, they lose the buyer and time. Number 2, incorrect pricing. Pricing the property while in probate is one of the hardest things for a grieving family member. There's often an emotional attachment to the home. It might be the home that they grew up in or the last place, of course, that the parent lived in. These kind of emotional attachments can definitely cloud judgment. Also, sometimes they price too high because they're thinking some of the upgrades and improvements that were done do add to value, and some do, some don't. It's really best just to talk to a real estate agent to determine what makes sense. Others are overwhelmed and just want to move on quickly, so they price too low and leave money on the table. These situations are common, and the best way to avoid them is really to have a professional market analysis done. I've helped so many probate clients find the right price. What I look at is I look at the comparables, the recent solds, also what's available. I'm also going to take into consideration what's currently happening in the market and the condition of the home. I'm going to help you price so that you don't sit on the market too long by overpricing or lose money by pricing too low. Number 3, buyer red flags. Not every buyer that shows up is honest. Probate homes often attract investors or opportunists looking for a deal. A lot of times when buyers see that a home is in probate, you'll get calls from investors that really want to get a low price thinking you just want to sell quickly. Without the experience to spot red flags like no approval letter or possibly an approval letter from a mortgage broker that really isn't valid or a hard money lender that could cause problems. Sometimes buyers have lack of the proof of funds. Where's the cash coming from? Or they submit aggressive terms that really is just going to hold up the estate and then end up causing you problems. It's easy in these kind of situations to unfortunately get stuck in a bad deal. I tell my clients the best way to make sure that you truly are getting top dollar for the home is to list the property in the multiple listing service. This way you truly know that the property's had as much exposure as possible and you're doing the right thing for the estate. We list the property in the MLS. That way any investors that are interested or primary residence buyers have the opportunity to see the home and submit offers. I recommend not accepting an offer for about a week. This way you make sure you really have had the opportunity for the home to get a lot of exposure. You're much less likely in this situation when the property is listed in the MLS to get overbid at the courthouse as well, because the investors are going to see it was listed in the MLS and that you probably sold for top dollar for that property. And you can feel very comfortable that you did did the right thing on value. When you're dealing with a probate sale, having a realtor who's experienced in these type of properties is essential. This isn't just about putting up a sign, throwing the property in MLS. It's really about understanding the time frames, communicating with attorneys, and being knowledgeable about the process. Probate sales come with their own emotional stress for the family, so having a knowledgeable realtor can make all the difference in a smooth transaction. I recommend that you make your offer contingent upon court approval, and then some of the other timeframes like the due diligence, the appraisal contingency, and loan contingency can be negotiable. It's usually best if the due diligence begins upon acceptance. That way you're negotiating repairs and the buyer's having the home inspection and removing that contingency usually before even the court date, so you know that's done. And then the other contingencies like loan contingency and appraisal contingency, you can either do a slightly extended contingency so that the court appearance is already held and the buyer still has time after that for some of those to finalize, or I've had some instances where we've even made those contingencies begin upon court approval. During COVID, the courts were backed up and it could easily have taken 3 months by the time we got court appearances, so you really just wanted to start those once we knew the court had approved the sale. A knowledgeable realtor will work with the attorney and the probate court to ensure everything goes smoothly. Once the court date's been scheduled, I send all the documentation to the buyer. I always go to the court hearing just in case questions come up about the sale or the property, and I highly recommend that the buyer does so also. We also guide you through unique challenges on the property, like navigating things on required disclosures, help establish a fair market value for the home, and addressing the property's condition, especially if the property hasn't been updated or even maintained for years. Would you ever try to sell a probate property on your own, or would you rather have a guide you can trust? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Helping families with probate homes is something I truly care about. I've helped so many families over the years who've lost a loved one and trying to figure out what to do with the home. I handle every detail from turning the utilities on my name, paying the bills, and having the estate reimburse me at close of escrow, so it's simple. A state property I have right now, I've even gotten bids on repairs, paid for the repairs, so that we could just get things moving forward. Probate is a complex process, and I have systems and people and vendors to help clients during this trying time. That's why I truly love helping clients during probate, because I feel very comfortable that I'm going to help them through the process. If you're navigating probate or know someone who is, I'll help you protect what matters most and make sure it's a smooth process for you and your family. Looking for more real estate videos about Las Vegas and Henderson? Please check out one of my other videos popping up on your screen. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you on the next one.